Welcome to the MMA Killshot podcast from DFS Army. It's UFC Vegas 86 Pyfer versus Hermansson. I'm Sniper from DFS Army. That's Monk over there. It's Vegas 86. We're going to talk fights. We're going to talk DraftKings. We're going to talk betting, break it all down. I'm excited for it, even if Monk literally just said he wanted to 86 this card. I mean, I got to call you out. Listen, at least we have fights. The pay-per-views coming up are bangers. I will say, from somebody who podcasts, 14 fights with these 14 fights. Okay, let's do it.
Right.
I'd like to watch them, but these are the type of cards, though, honestly, that end up being really fun. So that'll be good. But in terms of researching and tape study and podcasting, I'm not going to tell you I had a great time this week. I'm not going to. Especially the late but by the time I got to Fernie Garcia coming in, I'm like, do I have to go watch Fernie Garcia tape?
Yeah.
Do I? It did. Granted, I watched like 1.5, and I was like, I'm good. I'm good here. No more of this. So that being said, you know what we're gonna do? Hit the like button. Make sure you join DFS Army, link down below if you want real, DraftKings optimizer strategies, all that good stuff. Might have a third person joining us here. We're running a little bit late. Granted, I was late first and then didn't respond to the message, but we'll have another person from DFS Army jumping in at some point, hopefully, and I'll introduce him if he rolls on in. But for now, I think it's time. Let's talk Pyfer. B. Joe Pyfer. He's 9,000, taking on Jack Hermansson at 7,200. Your line on this fight: Pyfer's minus 240. Hermansson is plus 205. I know you're just a huge Joe Pyfer fan. You love Mr. Pyfer. So you can start us off.
You're being a little sarcastic. I'm not going to
put
it out there, but there's DM me if you want to know why I don't want to be Joe Pyfer. Yeah, man, this you got to play, I think, at least a little bit of both sides. Pyfer for the obvious reason. I mean, he's not putting up a ton of points. He's not killing it in the DraftKings scene. 105.6 against the worst fighter we've ever seen in the UFC, Alan Amidovsky. 96 against Mearshart and 97 against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. And he is, he's still in the 9K range this week. Meanwhile, Hermansson, I think he's just being a little undervalued. His strength of schedule is obviously much, much better than the three guys I just named. He is 2-3 in his last 5, but he does have wins over striker Chris Curtis and Edmund Shabazian. So you do like to see that. As long as Hermansson can keep his head for the first 7-8 minutes, maybe 2 full rounds, the longer this goes, I think it favors him. So give me Jack Hermansson for the win outright. I'm going to pick him as one of my very, very few dogs this week. Maybe not going to be a good pick it with my heart instead of my head, but yeah, I like Jack Hermansson here. And for DraftKings, I don't mind him as a punt play in cash, and I don't mind either guy for GPP.
Sounds good. We do got a third man joining us. Welcome into the show, making his DFS Army debut. It is Gino. Gino contributes content over at DFS Army with us. We got 5 guys. That's why DFS Army is a good value. There's tons of us cranking out content, picks, opinions, all that good stuff. Gino, what's going on, man? You ready for this super spectacular card? Oh, we can't hear you. Oh, no.
Yeah,
can't hear you at all.
Your mute light is flashing. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. What's up, guys? Yeah, all 14 fights. I'm pretty hyped for them.
All right. Well, we'll lead right into you here with we're on the main event, Hermansson and Joe Pyfer, who is Monk's favorite fighter.
Yep.
Yeah. So Pyfer's just a beast, man. He has dynamite in his hands, and then I'm looking at him, and he can even land a submission here and there. So he's got 2 real paths to victory here with Hermansson. But the thing about Hermansson is, back in the Chris Curtis fight, when he's running away, he can present problems like that from a DraftKings perspective. So you can see where it could go a little flat there. But as far as overall play, I think Pyfer's a great play. Definitely, I mean, with anybody, I think he's so powerful. He's always eligible for that round 1 finish. So yeah, I like Pyfer a lot here. but I wouldn't say right off Hermansson. I think he is a good play in GPPs especially.
Okay. The reason you can't, I'm on Joe Pyfer. The reason you really can't write off Hermansson in this fight for cash or GPP is we have 14 fights and we have fuck all to choose from for dogs. Like, I've gone through the notes here. We're going to talk about how we do the rest of the podcast in a second. Gino has quite a few dogs that I got to hear some of these arguments, because looking, I got one I'm picking straight up and one I'm taking because who the fuck knows in the fight. And that's all the dogs I'm taking. We'll get to that there. For this fight, for me, I'm on Pyfer. Sorry, Monk. I think you're going to see a speech. He's too big. He's too strong. He moves forward. I don't think Hermansson's going to be able to. Hermansson needs to grapple in this fight, and I just don't think we assume, and if with Pyfer's background, the takedown defense is going to be there. Maybe some of these trips get him down, and he can't defend the kind of MMA takedowns. But I can't kind of rely on an aging Hermansson to do that. But that is Hermansson's path here. He closes the distance, gets a trip, gets him on the ground. Hermansson does have nasty, nasty ground and pound and submissions, and that would be his path to victory. I just can't pick it. I'm on Pyfer here because of the dog situation. Go ahead, stack it in cash games, I guess. You might want to punt with like a Bruno Brazil, though, instead. And we talk about that later for your cash games, just for a floor, Monk, not to win the fight, but for a floor. Yeah, I am on the Joe Pyfer side. All right, guys, I've cleared this with nobody. So Monk and I are not a fan of the 1.5 to 2 hour podcast that can develop when there's a 3-man pod. Now, for the main event, it's fine. But you go, if I break a fight down and the Monk goes and then you go, that's 10 minutes right there. You do 10 minutes times 14 fights. If I'm a listener, I've opened up my wrists. Like, personally, I can't listen to myself talk for 10 minutes. So I think what we do, unless you guys disagree, I thought we could have some fun with it. And I kind of know who you're picking, Monk, and Gino, your notes are done here, so I know who you're picking. I'm going to give you guys each one fighter, and I will just see whoever.
Nice.
I'll be the referee here. I'll tell you who I'm going to pick and who had the better argument. Now, Gino, I think you're in for a problem here. I don't know how, because Monk's been doing these long form podcasts with me a while. So let's see how many of these you can win. I'm gonna judge it separately from who I think had the best decision for the play versus who I picked to win the fight, and I'll drop that in real quick. So let's try that out. Let's see how it goes.
Let's do it.
So we're not here for 2 goddamn hours. And by the way, if there's some fights like it's gonna be if you get, for example. I'm just going to assume nobody is taking Officer Trevin Giles. But if I assign you a side of the fight you really don't like, and I got to look now, Gino, you may have picked him. I don't even know. Did you? Oh, you did. Nice. So if there is a fight like that where just nobody wants any part of it, sorry, just do your best with that guy.
Yep.
Let's roll on from there. Great.
Got to
look at it here. All right. Sorry for the delay, guys. We'll see how this goes. Gino's going to be with us for the pay-per-view. 2-week run here. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Co-main event, Dan Ige, he's 8,600, taking on Andre Touchy-Feely at 7,600. The line of this fight, Dan Ige is -170. The comeback on the Touchy one, I'm sure it's a nickname he wants, but it is now, +145 for him. I gotta pull up my cheat sheet here. I gotta have a separate tab so I can see where our man down there has gone against the grain. All right, this one.
I'll be sure to have my picks in early next week.
Yeah,
so
I kind of know just based on our conversation, but either way, we're good here. And you know what? We'll start with the dog in this one. And Gino, you're up. Andre Feely. How can you win this fight?
Okay, so I like Feely. Ige's coming in with a 58% takedown defense, and that's a fairly decent sample they pulled that from. He recently gave up 5 takedowns to Bryce Mitchell in his fight. He's fighting a Feely who's really experienced. He presents an issue. His average is about 2 to 3 takedowns per fight. He can mix that in. He does have a ceiling of about 5 or 7, especially here with this guy because he has given up a few in overtime. However, I really don't like the fight for DraftKings as we're talking about DraftKings because I don't see either of these guys scoring well. I'm picking Feely to win because you see Ige has already lost. he has lost to guys of similar fighting styles as Fili. So yeah, I think there are much worse dog plays here to be played, and I think Fili's a good one. He showed well in his last few fights that he's been out. I think he could pull something off here.
Monk, who you got? Who you got? Let's give the argument here for Dan Ige.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Ige here. Fili to me is just too unsteady overall for his career. He's just up and down. I never know what Fili we're gonna get against Joe Anderson Brito. I mean, that wasn't even close, and he was coming off I guess that no contest with Pineda, but he was supposed to. Yeah, he was minus 225 against Brito in that fight. So huge favorite, and he got served in like 40 seconds. Then he beats Bill Algeo, who's got some great wins under his belt. Then he loses to Nathaniel Wood, who's looked like not great lately, and then beats Lucas Almeida, who he should obviously beat, but looked like an absolute killer out there. So he's up and down, and his strength of schedule not quite where Dan Ige's is. 2-3 in his last 5, but he's only lost to Bryce Mitchell, Mavzar Evluev, who's still undefeated, and Josh Emmett, who just came off the KO of the year. So some decent names there. At 8,600, I think Ige does have a path to score okay. I'm with Gino, though. Don't really like this for DraftKings, but I am going to pick Dan Ige outright. And I think his path to victory might score a little bit better than Fili, depending on the Fili that we're going to get. So it's a bit trepidatious, but I like Ige a little bit more for DraftKings.
My pick for the fight, I'm on Dan Ige. I think that's on the feet. I also don't trust Fili. I am going with a Dan Ige pick. In terms of between who won between you guys, I kind of got to give it decisions.
See, you got the hard part.
Yeah. I'm calling it 10-10. I really, nobody blew me away, guys. Both of you guys got to step it up. Nobody blew me away there.
Hey, I'll take a tie for right now. Tie's not a bad warm-up. Let's go.
See how you put that on us?
Ooh. Yeah, I wasn't.
He used his 10-10 on the first fight.
That's kind of how I feel about the whole fight, though.
Yeah.
Fight number 3. Oh, good. A name that I looked up earlier and I already forgot. Robert Breik, I believe. I'm going to go Breik. And that's not right. Fuck off. Taking on Ihor Poteria. He's 8,800. Is Breik. Poteria is 7,400. And I just butchered it right there, but just roll with me. We're going to call him Ihor the rest of the podcast. Breik is minus 160. The comeback on Ihor is plus 135. And Monk, you're going to go first for this one. And I got to give you... God, why is this? I gotta make notes before next time. This is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. All right, Monk, you know what? I'm going to give you the dog this time. You take our boy Ihor. How's he win the fight?
God. Jesus. Maybe like a piece of the
way
roof
to instill confidence.
Maybe the piece of roof falls on Breik while they're fighting. I'm not really sure. Wow. Well, I guess he looked okay in his win against Hua. He scored 110 points and got the knockout over his
last loss too for the first round.
Guy. I mean, yeah, that was UFC Austin. I was at that fight. Yeah, he looked good until he just had absolutely nothing left, which would be fine if he got, knocked out with like 2 or 1 minute left in the third round. But this was the 9th minute of the fight, man, and he looked dead for 2 minutes before that. So, yeah, I'm not really doing myself. I got to remember going forward that I'm trying to make a case for the win, but in this case, it is extremely difficult. I mean, I guess his path to victory is if Breik doesn't finish him early. The longer this goes, I think the worse it is for Robert. And Ihor, does have a couple submissions under his belt, more than a couple 7. So round 3 sub, what's that? It's got to be like plus 2,000 minimum. That would be interesting, but I think that's how he gets it done. He's got to just withstand and get through the first probably 11 minutes.
I mean, you butchered that, man.
No way. He's terrible.
We talked before the podcast. He's my kill shot. How do you fuck that up?
I never said.
Make the case for Breik.
All right. So with Breik, I usually do not like guys that come in that haven't really fought in the UFC that come in as big money favorites. I've actually made a lot of money going the opposite way. But in this situation, it just feels like they really like this Breik guy. And they are setting him up with a nice win to start off with as he comes into the UFC. If you look at it, Poteria has lost 3 of his last 4, and all 3 of them he was finished in. And yes, they were all finishes by striking, ground and pound or KO. And then if you look at Breik has won every fight since 2021 with a round 1 finish. So I just think that right there, it just lines up. And then going and watching his film, like this dude, yeah, he looks like he hits pretty hard. And I don't know how much more we're going to see of Poteria after this one. So,
all right.
That's my argument.
Yeah, I'm actually picking Ihor Poteria. And the reason being is because this is the coin flip. Who fucking knows? Breik, this power he's developed is pretty recent. If you start digging into his film, he hasn't always had this crazy power. The last few fights, yeah, he seems to have developed it. Ihor Poteria, the way he fights, they're going to throw down in the center of the cage. And I don't think Breik's anything special. I think he's fine. He's technically better, but I think this is just the war coin flip. And I hate all the dogs enough on this card that I'm going to take a shot. And to be clear, play plenty of Breik in GPPs. To me, it's pretty much a coin flip fight. I don't think as highly as Breik, I think as Gino does, but I am going to give him the win because Monk trying to give Ihor a case, didn't even mention that he swings hard and could just land in a phone booth. Just was so
11 knockouts. 11.
I appreciate you taking it easy on the rookie, Monk. I appreciate it.
Hey, dude, he threw me Ihor Poteria. I was like, oh shit, I got nothing. I wasn't expecting this.
You know what's funny is people are gonna think I'm throwing you the shit in this next fight.
No,
but
you're good.
But I kind of have to, just based on our conversation earlier. And we're going to talk about Gregory Rodriguez at 9,100, taking on Brad Tavarez at 7,100. Line on the fight: Rodriguez minus 240, Tavarez plus 205. Gino, you're first. You get the favorite, Gregory Rodriguez.
RoboCop. All right, I'm cool with it. All right. So give me a second. So you have Tavarez. He's coming in with a 56% strike defense. We all know RoboCop. He will throw him with you, and he's a tough guy. He landed 49 strikes in a round 1. RoboCop, that is. He landed 49 strikes in a round 1 finish over Njoku, which is pretty significant given how quick he took him out. Also, Tavarez doesn't score over 70 for DraftKings. He doesn't even score well with finishes in fights because his volume is so lacking when it comes to that. 50% of Tavarez's professional losses he's been finished in them, and Rodriguez is a prime candidate for finishing his opponents. That's one of his ways to get guys out. One of his main ways. So with that, I like the way the numbers are lining up, and you know what you get with Gregory Rodriguez. So I think this is fair, and I like the play.
All right, Monk, give us a dog. Your boy, Brad Tavarez.
He's my boy now. I'm going to stop talking to you before the show. Tavarez super cheap this week, as he should be. 7,100, as Gino said, probably won't even 10x his salary. But I honestly think he has a shot here. And I'm not just saying that because of the format that we're going with. Gregory Rodriguez has looked good in a couple fights, but he's fought fucking nobody. Dennis Tululin, Bruno Fajeda, Chidi Njoku, who has 2 minutes of gas apparently. Julian Marquez is not good. And Petrosian, I think we're going to find out after this week, that loss is going to age poorly, even more poorly going forward. Meanwhile, Tavarez has lost to Bruno Silva, not a good look, but a guy named Dricus Duplessis, ever heard of him? Beat Chris Weidman, former champ, beat Shoeface 5 fights ago. Wasn't he a champ in the PFL? Omari Akhmenov, wasn't he in the P doing some shit in the P? I don't know. Tavarez is fighting the much better opponents. And if Tavarez doesn't get knocked out, which, Rodriguez does have a few knockouts. In fact, all 3 of his last 3 wins are KOs. If Tavarez can withstand that, the longer this fight goes, I think a greasy decision is definitely in play. And that's Tavarez's path to victory. Easy 70 points, split decision. I think that's his road here. Just the strength of schedule is just so different in Tavarez's favor.
Well, for me, fight pick is Rodriguez. I think the difference is going to be the aging Tavarez. I think the durability is going. We've seen him get a put down recently. That's what I'm worried about here against the power of RoboCop. I will say, argument-wise, though, Monk, I got to give you this one. I got to give it. I like going back into the history. I like the passion with which you spoke. And one more thing I would have liked to hear you mention is that a fight this week, this card, a Tavarez 65-point win could very well be enough for the optimal because –
yeah, we saw Charles Johnson last week.
I don't want to fucking talk about that. Stop that goddamn fight. That hurt. That hurt.
Hey, I didn't like it either.
I want to take away the win from you just for mentioning that. All right, but let's move on. Let's talk Michael Johnson at 8,300, taking on Darius Flowers at 7,900. Line on this fight: Michael Johnson minus 140. Come back on Darius Flowers plus 115. Look, Monk, I'm going to give you the favorite. You're going to get Michael Johnson here, but anybody who I wrote this in my notes. Anybody who's taking Michael Johnson this week confidently clearly has never been cheated on, because then you don't have any type of trust issues whatsoever, because this is just Michael Johnson again.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are. You got Michael Johnson. You're first.
Yeah, he's at least the salaries are low here, 83 and 79. So I like that right off the bat for Michael Johnson, because he only scores 82 points on average. His last triple-digit score was against the illustrious Alan Patrick, in which he knocked him out in the second. 102 points there.
Biggest nipples in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, probably. Darius Flowers seemed decent. I mean, his first fight out was against Jake Matthews, been in the UFC forever. Was a very low salary, got finished in that fight, but still scored 22 points. I think Johnson is gonna I don't know. Part of me thinks he's gonna have to just come out and lay it on the line, but he kind of did that a little bit. He started to do that with Ferreira. I mean, he was winning the entire fight until he got clipped, and then that was it. The fight was just over, and yeah, all of our DraftKings dog money flushed right down the toilet. So I just think he's going to have to put a vet lesson on Darius Flowers if he wants it. He's 37 years old. He has not looked great. Time is catching up, as you just mentioned with the last fight, but I think he has this in him. I think he's, I think he's still an okay gatekeeper for guys of this caliber, guys with, one or two UFC fights who we don't know a lot about. Unfortunately, Darius does have the experience with 17 fights, but good thing for Johnson, he has more than double that. And I think he could give him a vet lesson here.
All right, Gino, how about for Darius Flowers?
So I did pick Darius Flowers. And I picked him because if you look at Michael Johnson, so Michael Johnson has lost, what is it? Let me make sure I'm telling you right. 4 of his last 6. Of those 4, he has been finished in 2 of those fights. Most recently, he got knocked out by Diego Ferreira. So we go over to Darius Flowers. You look at Darius Flowers. He did lose to Jake Matthews, but that makes me like those guys even more, because I feel like when those guys come in and they're good, like I think this guy has talent, and they lose, they drop one to a veteran, like Monk just said, as Jake Matthews. It's nothing but a learning experience. These guys have professional coaches. They have guys that are working with them. They identify holes. They get better. And then on top of that, if you look before that loss, he slammed the guy in the DW CS and the fight had to get stopped because of that. Then before that, he had a round 1 finish, round 2 finish, another round 1 finish. Guy has a history of finishing people, and Michael Johnson has a history of getting finished. So I think it's a nice lineup for a dog play there.
Who am I going to go with here? Look, I, out of principle, cannot pick Michael Johnson in a fight. I said it in the. I got to pick Darius Flowers. I think it's a coin toss fight. I think clearly Johnson's got the cleaner striking. It's a matter of whether or not he can stay conscious. He keeps getting chin checked. So that's the pick there. In terms of argument, though, I don't know. I kind of like Monk's point here about the vet lesson in Darius Flowers. Darius Flowers just lost to a veteran. I agree with the pick, but I got to give respect to somebody actually giving an argument that made me think twice for a second about Michael Johnson. So I'll give that one to Monk. Let's talk about Rodolfo Vieira at 8,200, taking on Arman Petrosian at 8,000. Line on this fight, pick him, damn near pick him, which it should be. Vieira is minus 120. Petrosian is plus 110. And we'll start with Gino. And God, you know what, Monk, you just won 2 in a row, so I'm going to make you defend Petrosian. What do you got for Vieira? But you can do it. You can do it. Gino, you're up for Rodolfo.
I appreciate the handicap. So yeah, I'm really glad because I am fading Petrosian, actually, believe it or not. Because
that's dangerous. That's scary because if Rodolfo doesn't get a takedown, he's gonna end up getting knocked out because someone closed a door in the apex.
But okay, so let's talk about that. With Petrosian, and like we just said about getting knocked out, that's not really his thing though. He has done it, but it's not as scary. Now the one thing I'm looking at now, you started to make never mind because I'm arguing with Monk. But yeah, so I do get that, but the other part of that is I think Vieira, this thing could go to the ground and Vieira lands a submission quick. And I think he does get it to the ground. If you look at, let's see.
That's absolutely his path, by the way. Vieira has got to get this to the ground. It's a matter of can he before he can't lift his arms anymore and he's face down to the canvas, breathing heavy. I don't trust that man's tank.
So I just wanted to give an accurate number. That's why I say give me a second.
Yep.
Petrosian's coming in.
I was filling for you. It's a podcast trick.
What's that?
I was just filling for you.
Oh, thanks.
While you looked it up.
So the 36% takedown defense of Petrosian tells me, and that's across a 5-fight sample. So the fact that he's giving it up at that much of a rate for how much guys are attempting, that really makes me feel good about Vieira's ability to get this to the ground and land the submission. And that's what he's going to do because, like we just talked about, the striking is going to go towards Petrosian. So if he has that weakness on it, I think he can get on him early with the wrestling, get it down, and land a submission.
Sounds good, Monk. Petrosian.
All right. Superman somehow is his nickname. Yeah. The 26% takedown accuracy of Rodolfo Vieira hopefully will come into play here. If he shoots a couple of times and something happens where Petrosian can stay up once or twice in like the first round, Vieira might start to slow down a little bit. I am worried that he did go all 3 rounds with Chris Curtis, and he did get 109 shots landed on him.
Chris Curtis
and didn't go down. I know.
Chris Curtis watches and listens to everything with his name in it. like he's already been in my DMs. I DM'd back. I did it kind of respectfully once we could, but Chris, you're going back to what makes us hate you, bro. You're doing it again. You're doing it again. Remember. You see what your teammate last week did when he ate a foul? See how he kept going and didn't look for a way out, even though he was going to lose the fight? Did you see that, Chris? Did you see it?
Over on Fight Time on Prize Picks for that was 16.5. That kick happened at 16 minutes, 28 seconds. I was like, no fucking way, dude. But thank goodness Delidze's not Chris Curtis for so many reasons. But yeah, that's his path to victory, Petrosian. He's going to have to stuff takedowns. He's going to have to wear Vieira out, and he's going to have to keep this on the feet because Vieira does give up 3.31 DraftKings points per minute at distance. So that's basically the way he's going to have to win this fight. Unfortunately, as Gino already said, Arman Petrosian has a governor of some kind on his DraftKings points, so he can only score 81 because that's exactly what he scores every single time. But he is the most expensive dog, so that is a kind of a not a great thing to look forward to. But 80 points at $8,000 is still better than a 20-point loss at 8,200. So you're still getting some something there if he does win. And I bet you not a lot of people are going to be on Petrosian. So if he gets the win here, might find some sneaky value.
Monkey gave it a valiant effort, and the governor comment was funny.
Oh,
as shit.
Come on. I thought I had
the governor thing was funny. It almost got me until you were talking about if Vieira had a governor, it might have pushed over the top there, but I'll give that one to Gino and the just atrocious 26% takedown defense.
Oh,
I do agree with the Vieira pick. Obviously, I will say I'd be nervous fading, but it's one of those things you got to take a stand. There's a couple stands to be made on this card. I got one coming up. I'll share, but if that's the stand you want to take. Sure, personally, Vieira and that history of a bad gas tank, I can't fully fade Petrosian. I will say that if Vieira, let's say that if this is the fight where Vieira we get through 10 minutes and he's forced to grapple, doesn't get a submission, or they strike more, like he shows some improved cardio, I'll probably stop mentioning it until we see it again. But one Chris Curtis fight is not enough to sway.
One disclaimer though with the fading, I think this is important because I've talked to a couple guys in the channel about that. When I say I'm fading, it's because I'm playing 20 lineups. I got to make some stands.
Yep.
And do that. If I'm playing 150 to 300, I mean, there's not that much reason to fade a whole bunch of guys.
300 lineups. You must be married or on The Bachelor. No, really. All right, next fight up. Let's talk about Carlos Prattes. God, I'm butchering these names this week. I'm gonna get some comments on the channel on the YouTube, and I deserve it. 9,200 taking on Officer Trevin Giles at 7,000. Line on this fight. Prattes is minus 250. The Officer is plus 210. Monk, you're first, and you get the favorite. You're gonna get Carlos Prattes.
Here we go. Well, as you know, I'm a stat guy, and I don't have a ton of stats for this guy. He's one of 85 newcomers on this card, but his nickname's cool. The Nightmare, Carlos the Nightmare, is pretty good. His Dana White Contender Series fight against Mitch Ramirez, he got the knockout in 6 minutes. Would have scored 92.6 DraftKings points there. Landed one knockdown. He did get taken down and controlled for almost 21% of that 6 minutes. But he did have a 64% striking accuracy on 30 strikes landed. So we do like to see that. Unfortunately, that's about all the stats I have for him. So I'll take this opportunity to just try to talk shit about Trevin Giles. I mean, he's 2-3 in his past 5. Lost to Gabriel Bonfim, Michael Morales, and, of course, the champ, Dricus du Plessis. His only wins, Preston Parsons is a good win on paper, but on just the stats, if you take the round-by-round scoring out of it, he didn't win that fight. Parsons, took him down 3 times, controlled him for 35% of that fight. And then his fight against Luis Kosuke. I mean, what are we doing against a Kosuke brother? I don't value that at all. He took him 15 minutes and only scored 57 points. Jesus. So, yeah, give me the newcomer here. 9,200 for Carlos Prattes. And it's always dangerous to play a guy that this is his secondary occupation. Like he has another job. Always dangerous to do that.
All right, Gino, why are we going on Officer Giles here?
So I am picking Giles.
I know that's why I gave him to you. I wasn't being nice to Monk.
Yep. Oh, okay. I thought you might have been being nice to me. I like Giles because yes, he's been finished in 3 of his last 5. But if you look at it, he lost to the now champion, who beat him up, who did the same thing to Robert Whitaker. That's one. Michael Morales, Gabriel Bonfim. I don't know about the Morales, but the Gabriel Bonfim, okay, those are good guys. If you look over, we don't have any stats on Prattes because he hasn't fought anybody yet. He hasn't fought against anybody yet. And how many times have we seen these guys come up at high prices, at big lines, and then they lose to guys who are experienced? Because, yeah, while Giles looks like shit when he's fighting Dricus du Plessis, we have I don't know if Prattes is Dricus du Plessis. So that's where I'm at. And then he also, the other part, we don't have a lot of stats on him, but I do know he doesn't have offensive wrestling, but he has defensive wrestling. So if that's coming at him, he's got 71% takedown defense. His striking defense is okay as well. He's a decently well-rounded fighter. As far as DraftKings goes, I'm fading the fight. Because I like Giles to win, it makes me not like the fight. Because Giles is another one. He doesn't typically score well in DraftKings. So I could see him just taking this guy a while and landing an ugly win. He wins. It's not going to be pretty.
All right. I'm on Prattes here, and he's actually one of my favorite plays on the card because his striking, at least I'm going by eye test. I know he's not been in the UFC. Dude's a good striker. We were talking about Brishek's power. smaller weight class, but Prattes can fucking hit, and I rate Trevin Giles like a fucking sour can of tuna fish. He lost to Duplessis and Bonfima Morales. Okay, I'm kind of on Monk's side here though, in that then he won against James Krause, which I don't know how Krause was able to fix the fight the other way, but clearly did that shit, because there's no way that Trevin Giles. I have watched that fight repeatedly. No way. And I had this rule in life that if you got finished by Zach Cummings, I can't pick you ever. And
good rule.
That's just it's a life rule at this point. I get it. I get the vet narrative here. I kind of think the vet has to be good, though. I got to give this one to Monk, but it might be my Trevin Giles bias shining through. It really could be. I don't dislike him as much as I like Chris Curtis, but, I don't like him. Next fight up, let's talk about Bolaji Oki taking on short notice, Timothy Kwamba. I'm going to be honest, I watched his fights on mute and just kind of roll with it. I should have looked it up for the podcast. I didn't. Sue me. Line on this fight, we have Kwamba is this one got moved around on fight odds because of the cancellation. So I have to stall for a second and try and find it. Where the fuck did they move it to? Is it not on fight odds? I don't actually see odds here on fightodds.io.
On Best Fight.
It wasn't best fight odds. Site that never actually works for me.
Oki's like minus 200.
I got it here. Yeah, I got it here. Weird. Minus 200. The comeback on Kwamba is plus 162. Before I hand it off, I will say this is an interesting salary spot in that because of the late notice replacement, Oki is priced as if he was fighting someone else and he was the most expensive fighter on the card. And now he's fighting somebody where he should be priced in the mid to high 8,000. It's not a flip where he's the underdog, but you're losing a lot of odds value. He's not going to be very popular for that reason. The odds-based players are not going to be on him. I just gave Monk a favorite. So, Gino, you get Bolaji Oki.
Okay, so I am picking Oki. He is 9,500, so that's quite expensive. Going to have to do something to pay off that salary, but he is a round one finish bonus candidate in this fight here. He has 3 of his last 4 wins are round one finishes. He is fighting a guy in Kuamba who actually they have very similar resumes. I went back and watched Kuamba versus Vogel in that Dana White contested series fight. He looked to be landing some decent strikes, but ended up going to decision. So I kind of question his ability to be able to put damage or anything on Oki because Oki seems pretty durable, seems pretty tough. He's he's gone fairly flawless through his competition thus far. Except for I think he has 1 loss earlier in his career, but other than that, he's been pretty dominant. I think he goes into this Kuamba piece and just probably gets it done in the first round. So that's where I'm at. I'm pretty confident in Oki this week.
All right, Monk, what you got for Kwamba?
Yeah, we don't know much about either of these guys. The short notice doesn't help, and Kwamba is coming up a weight class from his previous fight. But that said, both of these guys have 9 pro fights each. We can't base anything off of that. We've been talking about guys come in with huge salaries that have no professional experience. And yes, occasionally we're talking about him fighting other UFC guys, but in this case, we're fighting, Timothy Kwamba, who's at 7,500. Like you said, we've lost a ton of odds value on Oki already. 9,500. I mean, outside of the first round finish, which is big, there's almost no value on that salary whatsoever. And even if it is a first round finish, what happens if he doesn't get a knockdown and he finishes him in the first round with less than ideal number of strikes? We're still talking about 100 points at 9,500. That might not be good enough with 14 fighters. So I think all the odds values on Kwamba here. His DWCS fight Didn't look great if you put DraftKings scoring to it, but he did last all 15 minutes, and he's got the same amount of pro fights as Oki here, and the finishes aren't that different. I mean, Oki's got 6 pro finishes out of 8 wins. Kwamba's got 4 pro finishes. Kwamba has been finished in his loss by sub, but Oki's got 1 pro sub, so that's not his game whatsoever. If this gets out of the first round, I think it's anybody's game, so therefore the value to me is on Kwamba.
Look, I'm picking Oki here. I think he's too big, too strong, too durable.
And it's Kwamba's birthday today.
Yeah, I think he's more likely to land big power shots. That's the pick. I actually think that I'm going to give the win there to Monk on the argument side. I like the argument to get out of the first round and the inexperienced part of it. I agree with the technical breakdown, Monk. I like the case, though. I don't think I agree with you, but I like the case. I got to call it like I see it. I got to do a scoring model and make the loser wear a shitty T-shirt next week. Next time. Moving on. Let's take. What the hell are we up to? We're up to Bruno Brazil at 6,800. Yeah, that's cheap. Taking on Luma Lukbunmi at 9,400, or Luma Nurmagomedov all of a fucking sudden. 9,400. Line on this fight. Loma is minus 270. Bruno Brazil, who looks like a hypey bust here, is plus 230. Not that kind of bust, you dirty, dirty perverts watching this. Like, you should all be ashamed of yourself. Mug, you're first. You get the favorite here in Luma Lukbunmi.
There we go. Yeah, Bruno Brazil is cheap. She is 6,800. Yeah, for a reason. When she won, she barely even would 10x that salary. She scored 71.8 against the girl that had like 6 pro fights. Just not a great showing there, especially after you got absolutely slammed by Denise Gomez in your debut fight here. Loma Lukbunmi is a bit expensive at 9,400. She's averaging, though, 85 points, many more points than Brazil, and she does score over 3 points a minute, which is very good for the strawweight weight class. She looked, got her first finish. I believe it was her second pro finish, actually, against Elise Reed. Subbed her in that one, beat Denise Gomes, who beat Bruno Brazil in the second round, beat Sam Hughes, beat Jinyu Fry. So, those last 2 names aren't the best. Actually, none of the names are really the best. She didn't look great. Yeah,
picked a good one.
She didn't look great against Lupi Godinez, but she did last all 15 minutes. Just got out controlled and out takedown in that one. I don't think Brazil's going to do that here. I expect this one, if it's going to stay on the fight, I like Lukbunmi. I think she's going to be more aggressive. And I think Brazil's in a must-win situation, and I don't know how that's going to do for her mental. So give me Lukbunmi this week.
Gino, take Bruno Brazil.
Bruno Brazil. I'm always a big proponent of female underdogs to begin with in MMA, but I like Brazil for a couple of reasons. With takedown defense, the one thing, if you look at it, I will say Lukbunmi does have the advantage from her 78% to Brazil's 58% takedown defense. However, Brazil will get those takedowns going, and she'll get them going in a hurry. As Monk just said, that striking advantage is going to go to Lukbunmi. I like how Brazil, Bannon, she didn't look great how she came out, so it's hard.
She looked terrible. She looked deer in the headlights. What am I doing here?
But what I like to see about that is to see Brazil come back, because they clearly put those two together for that reason, because Brazil was going to test Bannon to see what she was like, and then we were going to see if Brazil was going to bounce back after getting worked by Gomez. So I like the way she responded to that. I think she can get wrestling going here against Lukbunmi and put her in some trouble here. And as Monk said, she has to do that. Fighters dig even deeper when they have to do something. And she has the skills here. I'm assuming good coaching, and their coaches are going to tell her, look, do not stay on the feet with this girl. Do not try to stand and strike with her, because you're going to get beat there. So, yeah, assuming good coaching and continued improvement, I am going to take the value of Brazil at 6,800.
I tell you, I'm really conflicted on this one. I'm taking, in terms of who to pick between you guys, I'll explain that in a second. I am on Lukbunmi. I think the wrestling has looked really good. As of late, has made the improvement. I'm concerned about. This is where I disagree with you, Gino. Bruno Brazil was getting taken down by Marnik Mann. And Denise Gomes that lost age great. That loss is aged well. I don't know if wrestling is. I don't know where she wins this fight. Is my problem on the feet? You're probably right. On the ground, I think Lubunmi has made really big improvements, and that's where I disagree with you. But I like the idea of the female underdogs. That I can get behind that argument. I'm going back and forth. Luma Lubunmi is just. She's looked really good. I'm concerned about the scoring. You know what? I'm going to give this one a draw because I think it was in this case it was on Gino to kind of sway me and made one good point. One I just don't agree with, and if I'm wrong and Bruno Brazil can get wrestling going here, then I'll go back and retroactively give him the win here. But for then, I'm gonna call it a tie because I don't know how Bruno wins this fight. I can't see her getting takedowns. But I've been wrong before. I've been wrong plenty. Maybe it's just Bruno Brazil's presence in the cage that made Shauna Bannon look like she had never been in a fight before. That was wild. We got a lot of fights to still go here. Let's do Devin Clark, 8,900, taking on Marcin Prachnio at 7,300. Line on this fight is somewhere. Clark is minus 230. Prachnio is plus 190 for this one. Gino, who you want? I'm going to give you a pick here. Who you want?
We'll go with Clark.
You want Clark?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's the thing. Never, ever trust me. Take the other side of the fight.
Oh. Well, aren't you nice?
Take Prachnio.
Well, good. Learning experience. I'm glad I could learn on the fly.
Monk saw that coming. There's no way Monk didn't see that coming.
God damn it. Can we let Monk go first so I can look at it for a second?
Cool. Because whoever was getting Prachnio is gonna motherfuck me. So go ahead, take Devin Clark, and if you don't reference his screaming father somewhere in your breakdown, you're gonna lose. Get up, Devin!
Yeah, his dad is wild. Is he gonna be? Do we know if he's gonna be in the corner for him?
I don't know, but you'll know within 15 seconds.
Yeah, insane. I think he grounded him once actually from the corner. That was super weird. No TV for a week, I heard him say. Yeah, I'm going. I'll gladly take Devin Clark here. I was scrambling to try and find some numbers on Prachnio here. Lost to Vitor Petrino, who seems like a decent prospect here. Lost to Felipe Lins. And don't let the last three wins fool you. Roundtree, Villanueva, and William Knight. Before that fight, he was knocked out like 4 times, twice by Smiling Sam Alvey. Let's never forget. Prachnio got put down twice by that dude. Clark has the better strength of schedule, just barely. His losses aren't great. Kutalaba, who's a wild man. Mirzakhanov, who's got, he went 3 rounds with him, almost 11 minutes, I should say. And then Kennedy and Chukwu, who is kind of up or down, but a little bit more up lately, beat Da Un Jung in a big, in my opinion, a very big win when he was 7,500. So I'm going to go with Devin Clark here. In my opinion, Prachnio cannot be trusted. This dude, who knows what he's going to do in there. The fight IQ is not good. Clark scores almost 3 points a minute, which isn't great, but not terrible for 8,900. Averages 94 per win. And the last thing I will say, where did it go? Oh, yeah. Prachnio, when he loses, gives up 106.5 points on average. So I will take that. Clark usually doesn't score well, although there are exceptions to that. But I'll take my chances here and hoping that Prachnio kind of plays out like this William Knight fight in which Clark scored 107. So, yeah, give me Devin Clark here. Devin Clark's dad, just, dude, Prozac, my guy, Prozac.
Prozac. No, you need some uppers. He clearly needs uppers. All right, Gino, what'd you come up with? Hard assignment, I know. Marcin Prachnio.
But the more I look at it, but see, that's what's funny about this. The more you look at numbers, the more you study this thing, the more you can be like, if you overthink it. So, anyways, Prachnio, I'm looking at him. He is he's 3-2 over his last 5. The real concerning thing is those 3 straight KO losses in round 1 below that. As you said, to Alvey, Ankalaev, Rodriguez. But one thing that I noticed, that if the guy seems to be a little slower on the striking, it looks like Prachnio can get a little edge there. So if you're looking at, for for example, he's fighting Ike Villanueva. He won a KO there, and he outstruck him. He had relatively low volume in terms of the striking, in terms of his opponent. Again, you look at Villanueva, another guy, lower volume striking. He was able to get up on him quick, use the striking, landed a win. Khalil Roundtree, same deal. He won a decision there, outstruck him by 50 strikes, 102 to 49.
Crazy. I don't know what Khalil that was.
So I think if he can get the striking going, he's dangerous. But like you just said, that fight IQ, it's like don't put yourself in a bad situation early to get yourself knocked out. So if he can give himself time and fight a smart game plan, utilizing his strengths of striking, I do see where Pragne could give some problems here to a Devin Clark. Because Devin Clark, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I have not seen a whole bunch of like crazy pressure he puts on people to come out or pacing. So I think that kind of goes to Pragne's advantage, and I think they have similar resumes, as I believe Monk said earlier as well. So I'll go with Pragne. Go ahead and pick him.
All right. I'm on Clark as well. The wrestling should be too much here. That is the pick. Although Devin Clark finds ways to lose fights. It's a unique skill he has.
Yeah, has anyone ever seen Pragne and Frankenstein in the same room at the same time? Because that dude fights like he's just putting his head everywhere. The
way he kind of meanders forward. Yeah, I got to go with Devin Clark. I'm going to give the win to Gino, though, just for defending Pragne halfway decently. Although you got to mention that that Khalil win is what the fuck. I don't even know how that happened.
Yeah.
Props for defending Pragne there. I'll give you the dub. Especially I feel bad since I totally okie doked you. Next fight up, we'll go Jeremiah Wells, 8,500, taking on Max Payne Griffin at 7,700. Line on this fight, we got, what the fuck is it? It's somewhere. Clearly my screens were not set up for this whole system I'm doing here. It's fun and all. Jeremiah Wells is minus 150. Comeback on Payne Griffin is plus 125. I am very, very, very biased in this fight. So it's going to be really hard to sway me because this is one of my core plays. So that being said, Gino, you can go first and you can take Jeremiah Wells.
Thank you. So I like Jeremiah Wells. I think he's the best play in the $8,000 range in terms of, especially for favorites. I thought he looked absolutely phenomenal and great. Even reviewing film prior to that submission loss in round 2 to Carlston Harris. So most recently, but that makes me like him even more coming back here. And we talked about that earlier. When guys come off disappointing losses like that, and they're gaining their ground, it does not usually it gets them better. You know, assuming he's competitive, assuming he has a good camp, he's going to continue to get better. Also, if you look at his finishes, he has over 6 coming up into this fight in his last 8 from what I saw. So I do think Wells is a good play. I think he does get a finish here. I think he bounces back from his most recent loss with Griffin.
Max Payne Griffin. Been around a while.
Max Payne Griffin. Well, with any good litigator would, I do my best at all times to defend the client that I am given. And in that case, I think I've actually found some decent evidence here. Let's see. Griffin, 70% takedown defense, serviceable. That's not a very small sample size at all. He's stuffed, or he's only allowed 14 out of 46 takedowns attempted. The other thing that's jumping off the screen to me here is he does have, and this is why I made that face during your argument. There's nothing you said. I was looking at stats. In his last 5 guys, Max Griffin has 4 knockdowns, 1 against Tim Means, 1 against Neil Magny, unless I put some of these stats in backwards, which could be possible.
No, you're 100% right.
1 against Condon and 1 against Song Kanan. So, and Wells, I mean, his chin has been tested, and it's failed a couple of times. He got knocked down twice by Matthew Semmelsberger. Yes, he ended up winning that split decision, but that did happen. Also, his strength of schedule, not very good. Blood Diamond is on his last 5. Carlson Harris, not the best, and he got the win against him. Semmelsberger's looked like trash lately. Court McGee, I'm not going to talk shit about Court McGee. And Warley Alves, not the best, and he fought that fight in 2021. So there are paths here where Wells can make a mistake, and Griffin, again, a vet lesson here possibly. This dude has 29 pro fights, just insane. His only last 2 losses in his last 5 are to Michael Morales, who I regard as a very good striker, and Neil Magny, who's another vet. So I think Griffin's got a better shot than I originally thought here. And the salary, 7,700. That is like the perfect spot to land on the optimal lineup, because you don't have to score all the points in the world. You just got to get a win. And a greasy split decision is right in Max Griffin's wheelhouse. I can't believe I just blacked out.
Fuck.
What happened?
Fuck. God, I was all about Jeremiah Wells. The takedown defense number in the Song Kanan fight. I forgot about that fight.
Did I just talked myself into Max Griffin? Holy shit.
It talks me into a little bit of Max Griffin. I'm still going to pick Jeremiah Wells because the wrestling should get it done, and Griffin is aging. That's the best case I've heard from Max Griffin, and now I hate you. You get the win there. I'm still taking Wells. I'm on Gino's side for the pick.
I feel dirty. I
the fuck just happened? God, this may be healthy for us, Monk.
It might be.
Oh, that was weird. Out of body experience. All right, if Monk, I'm going to give you again the guy that I want no part of. If you could do it again,
oh no,
I'm going to be really impressed here.
You can't. I mean, twice in a row.
Zach Pauga, what's the favorite this time at 8,400, taking on Bogdan Gusoff at 7,800. Line on this fight. Pauga is minus 125. I don't know how. I don't understand. Someone make this make sense. Monk, it's going to be you in a second. Gusoff is plus 105. Monk, take it away with the favorite. The big time Vegas favorite, Zach Pauga.
I got my work cut out for me again here. I'm like arguing against myself. It's crazy in most of these, but it is actually a good thing.
It's a good exercise.
I have one argument, and it's such a clear argument. And
please say your sister's hot. Please say something crazy like that.
No, it's
some
that,
wild argument.
That Bogdan Gusoff is exactly what we thought he was against Volkan Oezdemir. A fraud, Your Honor. He is indeed a fraud. I don't care if he has triple the amount of fights that my client Zach Pauga has. Holy shit. Yeah, he looked not good against Volkan Oezdemir. He did land 8 strikes, only 8 strikes in almost 4 minutes. So, if Zach Pauga, and the only thing Zach should have been training since he found out about this fight is just employ the Jordan Wright strategy, Zach. You've already eliminated Jordan Wright. I mean, you didn't finish him like literally every other person that he's ever fought has done to him, but you got the win unanimously at that. Just don't get hit by Gusoff here, and just show
you're in a fist fight. Don't get punched.
Prove to the world that indeed the son, the love child of Anthony Smith and NoHo Hank from Barry, is indeed a fraud. Let's go, Zach Pauga.
I love it.
At 8+ at 8,400, when he knocks this dude out, I can't believe I just said that. When he knocks this dude out in the first round, he's going to score 1 million points.
We're going to keep doing this. This is my new favorite thing. It's also a good way to cut down Geek's talking time when Geek comes back.
This is great. It is. It's really good.
Gino, Gusoff.
All right. So Gusoff, yeah, so I like he is really just a killer be killed fighter if you look at it. His 2 losses are round 1 finishes. Almost every single one of his wins outside of that are round 1 finishes. Pauga, when we watched him against what was that? Mohammed Usman. Yeah. I thought he might have killed him in that shot. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, Pauga, he hasn't been knocked out yet. But I'm like, oh shit, he's only fought like 8 times. So it's not like he's had that many opportunities. And I think I have a lot of confidence in the fact that that our dog here, Gusoff, can come out and land a finish against a guy who has already shown that in a very short period of time in his career.
All right, I'm on Gusoff as well. I want no part of Zach Pauga. I don't think he's that good. And to me, it was Mission Impossible, Monk, because the loss against Ozdemir, say what you want about Ozdemir, is top 5 guy, top 10 guy. Like, that doesn't do much for me here. Gino gets the win, but that was Mission Impossible, and you should get a bonus point from the Max Griffin that I'm still floored from.
I survived the mission. That's all. That's all I can do.
Moving on, we're going to take Hyder Amil. His 8,700 taking on Joe Schmo. No, he canceled. Ricky Bobby. No, he's out. Oh, third fucking guy. Somebody call Fernie Garcia. Somebody call an 0-3 guy in a weight class below his. Hyder's got to fight. Like that. That's what we're doing here. Against Fernie Garcia. Hyder Amil line on this fight is minus 200. Comeback on Fernie Garcia is plus 170. I've been giving Monk Mission Impossible. Gino, your turn.
Do it again. No. Do it again.
You want it? You want it?
I want this now. I think if I was a lawyer, dude, I'd just give me the murderers. I'm getting these motherfuckers off, dude.
Give me the murderers.
You unlocked something in me.
Look, Fernie Garcia is not a murderer. But go ahead.
That was a bad.
He is a pillow-fisted 0-3 in the UFC fighter, who, by the way, would beat the ever-loving shit out of me and make I'd be his puppet because, good for Fernie getting a 4th fight, but Monk, how does he win the fight at this point? You wanted it. How does he win?
Yeah, I might have overstepped there. Well, he's 0-3. Not good. 0-3. He kind of dug himself into a hole. He's probably more shocked than all of us that his phone rang and it was, Sean on the other line. He's like, thought it was probably Ashton Kutcher for a bit. Here's the thing. And I, made a decent amount of money doing this last week. We faded Thomas the Train last week for good reason. And it's the same thing why we should have faded Thomas the Train before him. When he fought Nicholas Mata. These guys have 8 professional fights. They make this jump. Santino was talking about this on his show today, and I thought it was a very good point, and it makes a lot of sense. These guys these days, they're in such a rush to get to the UFC, and their gyms want them to get there, and all they want to do is get to the Dana White Contender Series fight, because that's all you need. If you win that fight, you're in the UFC probably at least twice, maybe 3 or 4 times if you're somebody like Fernie Garcia. And I think they're all just getting rushed and they're not ready for this. Now, Fernie Garcia is not anybody that's generally going to check anyone, but he has spent 45 minutes in a UFC cage against UFC fighters. They're not like the good caliber. It's not Alex Volkanovski or even Darren Elkins in there at featherweight, but decent, UFC level competition, which Hyder Amil has not faced. And in fact, he fought someone named Emrah Sonmez last fight in the Dana White Contender Series fight. He got taken down 5 times in this fight. He got a unanimous decision, but he got out-controlled, 38. He got controlled 38% of that fight. He only landed 26 punches in 15 minutes. Man, if you're telling me that I got to pay how much for this dude, $8,700 for a complete unknown, I don't care about fight tape. This is the UFC, and against a guy who, has looked like dog shit, but at least he's looked like dog shit in the UFC for 45 minutes. So give me Fernie Garcia at the value of $7,500 if he gets a win. Can't believe that just happened, but there we go.
Not a bad argument.
I tried.
Gino, what do you got for Hyder Amil?
Journey Newsom has had 6 fights in the UFC. And he has 1 win in the UFC.
It's good experience.
It's Mr. Garcia. Is that Fernie Garcia? So with Amil, but it's like I totally get what you're saying too. These guys rush up and then they end up being disappointed when they come up because they're not ready. but these could be two of the same. And I think we already know Garcia's not good. So I would rather go with the guy that may not be good, that looks good going in, that's been dominating prior to this than Garcia. I do think it was a good point about the Dana White contester series with getting taken down 5 times. But again, Garcia, he took some L's like this before. And then the other part is, if you look at it, he goes to these decisions, but he's outstruck by like 20 to 30 strikes every time, minimum. So he's not, and it's not like he's getting a whole bunch of offensive wrestling going. You know, he got taken down by Nakamura 4 times. He got taken down by High Stand 3 times. He got taken down by Newsom twice. Oof. So it does nothing but build confidence in Amil for me. So we'll leave it at that. I think Amil gets it done and continues the win streak going. What happens after that, I'm going to really assess this fight this week to see what I'm going to do with him moving on to his next fights, because that'll tell us a lot.
Yeah, I'm on the Hyder Amil side too, but I also hate this fight for DraftKings, and Monkey didn't pull it off because he had yet Journey Newsom. that was the end of that one. All right, let's wrap it up. 14 fights in a little over an hour isn't terrible.
And it's so much. It's just a different format's nice. It's nice.
Yeah, I feel like we're
thinking outside the box of just the normal shit that I'm going to say on 2 other shows this week.
Yeah, we gotta see if we can punch this up somehow, market it. Hey, people, share this podcast. Share it, tell your friends. Then we're going to talk about Daniel Marcos at 9,300. And one of these guys is about to willingly defend Orichi Long at 6,900. Line on this fight. Orichi Long is a big old dong. No, dog. Sorry. Not dong.
I want him.
Nothing about his dong. Man, I stalled pretty perfectly there. And I got to tell you, best fight odds. FightOdds.io, really shitting on me right now. So I'm going to jump on over here and tell you that Daniel Marcos is minus 265, and the comeback on Orichi Long is plus 215. Our last, what I think is Mission Impossible, is going to be taken on by Gino willingly, because I know he's picking Orichi Long. Why?
Because I don't value money that much. No, I'm just kidding. So actually, Orichi Long is my kill shot. So,
a little spoiler alert.
Yep. So, Orichi Lang he's a live dog in this spot, as he's shown a lot of durability over his extensive career. I know it's not the biggest in the UFC, but he has a very long career. And if you look at it, he's not really one to get finished that often or at all, really. So Marcos, his fight against Grant may have been a fluke win, as 30 significant strikes in the split decision. Grant outstruck him in a split decision. So that kind of makes me question the quality of that win for Marcos. Marcos has not fought anyone at this point, and is fighting a veteran who has a gas tank to go the distance. I think if it goes deeper, that's the more tired Marcos gets. And then again, there's a lot to ring experience, knowing that cage, knowing how to work inside of there. Orichi Lang has all of that. And I think that's what comes to fruition here. Again, a lot of times these guys come in and they go fight against a seasoned vet, like a guy like Orichi Lang. And those guys, they know the tricks. They know what to do. They're not rookie fighters. They're not just going to come in and match your strengths with theirs. So I could see Orichi Lang extending this fight and getting the advantage the later it goes. And he's so cheap, I'm making him that, because at a cheap price, he could score 89 points, 85 points in a win and be in the optimal at that price.
All right, Monk, favorite, Daniel Marcos.
Yeah, let's go Marcos here. And the only thing I'm going to push back on that you said, Gino, was that Marcos has fought somebody that has that vet experience. He fought Davey Grant in an extremely close split decision in his last fight. Beat Simon Oliveira in his first fight, looked great. Outlanded the dude by 30 strikes, knocked him down, controlled him for almost 15% of the fight. Excuse me. The Davey Grant fight was extremely close, but I think he did show that he has some of that vet. Excuse me. There we go. Some of that vet, he got kind of a lesson there, because if you take out the round by round striking, which I already talked about once, this was very close, but Marcos did slightly lose that one. So I think the split decision, could have gone either way there, but he got it. And he looked decent. He did get outstruck, but he did land a takedown on Davy Grant, which I guess Davy Grant does sometimes welcome. But the other point I'll make is Arichi Lang, has 3 wins in his last 5, but his strength of schedule is terrible. Jay Perrin, not in the UFC. Cameron Else, not in the UFC. Johnny Munoz Jr., not the best at bantamweight. And this dude got knocked out in a minute by Ayman Zahabi in 1 minute. Cody Durden also put a hurting on him with the 5 takedowns there. So there are paths to victory if Marcos wants to land a takedown or 2. Arichi Long has given up 5, 8, 12 takedowns in his past 5 UFC fights. So I think there's a good path here. The salary is not my favorite at 9,300, but Arichi Lang has been finished in 1 minute by a guy I didn't think could ever finish anyone in 1 minute. So give me Daniel Marcos here.
I'm on Marcos as well. I just think he's the better prospect. I think he's legit. I'm going to give the win to Monk as well because the argument about pushing back on Davy Grant and just that history from Arichi Long. So we'll go there. Although I will say Arichi Long, of all the dogs I have to choose on this card, Arichi Long isn't at the bottom of the list.
I think that's a really good kill shot too.
He's just, I'm fine with it.
Before the show, yeah.
For the argument, that's where I'm going to go with that. So, kill shot. I think that was fun. Kill shot, if you're not familiar, what we do, under-owned play on DraftKings that can win you the whole slate. Main event fighters don't count. Super chalk does not count. It's something unexpected, usually an underdog. If you're going to, I would allow Bolaji Oki this week because the odds value is so far against him. So situations like that where you can throw in a favorite, I think are fine. Gino, I mean, you kind of gave it away, but go ahead and make it official.
Oh, sorry, guys. Rookie move. I'm going with the Richie Lang. And I just gave an explanation, so that's all there is.
Yep. I think mine is pretty obvious too. I'm interested where Monk is going to go. I hope he talks himself into Max Griffin. God, I hope he talks himself into Max Griffin.
He's in the final 2. He's in the final 2. You go ahead. What's yours? You go first.
Mine is Ihor Poteria because that fight is a full-on coin flip in my mind. Look, if Ihor wins, he's winning in the first 2.5 minutes. He gets past that, Brishik probably hurts. I just love the fight. And I think people are going to be more off Poteria than they should be. So that's mine.
Yeah, I can't. Oof, Poteria is rough. I'll definitely be playing him, but just hearing that name and seeing it on the screen just makes me recoil. And I can't believe I did, but yeah, we keep it classy here. We'll keep it to the rules of our little thing. Under 7,700 or 77 or less, no problem. I got 2, and I did for this show. I talked myself into Max Griffin at 7,700. I totally did. If anyone cares, the one I was on before that, which third was Arichi Lang, but the one I was really thinking about was Brad Tavarez. But I talked myself into Griffin, and now I like him more than Tavarez. Oh shit!
If Max Griffin fucking wins, that's going to be fantastic for the show. Oh, that's funny.
Now I have to root for him. Oh, man.
Those are the kill shots. I hope you guys enjoyed. Gino, thanks for jumping on. We will see you next week for UFC 298. The countdown to UFC 300 begins with a good card next week. Everybody, hit the like button, share with your friends, sign up at DFS Army. The last one I know cost a little bit of money, but we got a lot of good content for daily fantasy. Make some DraftKings money, FanDuel money, I should say, as well. See us in the Discord, answer all your questions. At the very least, though, share the podcast with your friend. It's no longer just another podcast where we talk DraftKings and go back and forth. Now I'm making these people do uncomfortable things.
Yes.
And to me, that's funny. At some point, I wonder if I'm going to have to flip this at some point and make me do this, or if I just get to be the master in ceremonies and dole out the pain.
Judge, though. I like that.
To see how it goes. Yeah, I like it too. I thought that was fun. All right. Right around an hour 15. We'll get the hell out of here. Hit the like button, and we'll see you next time. Good luck in whatever contest you are playing.